Hello everyone, John Uziak here of Uziak Games and Designs, and today we're going to talk about Skeptics. So Skeptics is a 1 to 4 player board game of paranormal investigation, where you play as investigators that go around hunting and proving the existence of ghosts. So let's take a look.
Okay, so let's talk about the setup for Skeptics. So the first thing you're going to want to do is choose a board. So we have the asylum on the front, and on the back we have the museum. So it's recommended for your first time playing to use the asylum board since the museum offers a little bit more difficulty and challenging gameplay. Next we have the ghost, so there's 6 to choose from, and you're going to choose one to play against during the game. So we have the child ghost, we have the woman in white, the apparition, the poltergeist, the shadow, and the restless spirit. So it's recommended to choose the child ghost for your first game since it's the easiest, and we're going to be using him during the demo. Place the other ghost in the box. They will not be used during the game. Next, take the ghost pawn and put it next to the ghost card. Next, decide how many players are going to play the game. Choose an investigator and place them in the entrance. So for the demo, we'll talk about a 4-person game. All right, next we're going to talk about the door markers. So we're going to place one of these on each green key icon set on the board. So there should be 15 total on the asylum board. Next we have the clock. We're going to set it to the 12 or the ghost hour, and we're going to put it off to the side. All right, next we're going to choose our environment cards. So we have the asylum and the common cards, and we also have museum. So we're going to go through and remove the museum card since we're not using this board, and just shuffle the asylum cards and the common together. So you can see this at the bottom of the card here. And we're going to shuffle these. We're going to place this off to the side. Next we have room cards, and we're going to remove an amount of room cards based on the number of players. So if you have a 2-player game, you're going to remove 2. If you have a 3-player game, you're going to remove 8. And if you have a 4-player game, you're going to remove 11. Now if you're playing solo, you don't have to remove any. So we have a 4-player demo, so we're going to remove 11 cards. Put these back in the game box. Shuffle the remaining. And place these next to the environment cards. Next we have the item cards. So we have 10 total in the base game. So you're going to shuffle those. Put them off to the side. All right, next we're going to choose 3 special items from the special item deck. Now you can choose 3 at random, or if you look on the back of the ghost card, it gives you recommended special items to play. So we have the spectral stone, the secret passage, and 1 random. So we can go through the special item deck, find those cards. So we have a spectral stone, a secret passage, and we can choose 1 random. So I'm going to shuffle these, grab 1, put the rest in the box, and we're going to shuffle the special item cards that are recommended by the ghost card. We're going to put these off to the side. Next we have the search tokens. So we have these, we're going to put them on each blue icon set on the board. However, before we do so, for every special item you have in the deck, you're going to add 1 search marker, so these are the search markers, to the board. So since we have 3 special items in the deck, we're going to take 1 of these for each special item and put them on any empty furniture piece that you see. So we have a bathtub. We can put it over here. We can put 1 over here. Next, we're going to take these search tokens and place them on each blue icon set, including those search markers on the game board. Next, we have the evidence tokens. So we're going to take these and put them next to the ghost card. We have our magnifying glasses. So these are for the players to grab later. So I'm going to take this and put them off to the side. We're going to take 3 key dice and put them off to the side, and then we're going to put the other one over here. So that'll be used later. And then out of the 5 clue dice, we're going to take 3, put them within the reach of players, and put the other 2 off to the side. We have some dropped item tokens. So these are represented by little flashlights. We could just take these and put them off to the side. They can be used later. All right, next we have clue cards. And we're going to put these at the top of the game board here. So we're going to choose 7 out of these randomly. So we're going to shuffle. We're going to place 7 at the top of the board. And we're going to place the others away in the game box. They won't be used. Next, we're going to take these typewriters and in order. So we have typewriter number 1, clue number 1. We're going to put it on clue card number 1. We're going to take clue number 2, and there's 2 of them. On the next clue card, same thing with number 3. So there's 2 of each. And continue down the line. So 4. Next, we have our summon dice. So we can put these off to the side, preferably above the ghost card. We have these blue and red marker cubes. We're going to just put these off to the side as well. They'll be used later. And then we have a variety of miscellaneous tokens. We have the fire. Put that aside. Some timers. So you have some timers here. We have a summon token. And then we have a corpse. So we're going to put these off to the side here. And they'll be used later in the game. This is a barrier token. And this will be used in the museum board. So you can put that off to the side or in the game box. Lastly, we have reference cards. You can give one to each player. And after that, the setup is done. And now we can play Skeptics. Alright, so let's talk about the gameplay for Skeptics. So the object of the game is to satisfy all icon sets on the ghost card before the room deck runs out. So the clock is going to move at the end of every round after every character has taken a turn. And once it gets to the 12 or the ghost hour, the ghost is going to appear in a room. The investigators are going to try to run to that room, roll dice to match these symbols. And if you complete all these icon sets before the room cards run out, you win the game. If the room deck runs out and you fail to complete all these icon sets, the investigators lose and fail to prove the existence of the ghost. So the game begins with the first player in the turn order. Now this player is allowed 3 actions on their turn, and we're going to talk about those in a second. So at the end of every turn, it moves to the next player, and at the end of the last player's turn, the clock is going to go up 15 minutes. So the clock is going to go up 15 minutes at the end of each round, and after a full hour, the ghost will appear designated by a room card, an environment card is going to be drawn, and this continues for the rest of the game until all the room cards expire. So let's talk about the player actions. So the first action is the move action. So players can move their characters on one of these spaces on the game board, and you can see these spaces are designated by these brackets and these white lines, and also the walls around them. So you cannot move through a wall, and you cannot move through a closed door, and we'll talk about opening doors in a second. So you can use one action to move, you can move a second space or even a third space for your 3 actions. If you move 3 in a row, you can run for a 4th. Now the move has to be consecutive in order. Now there are secret passages that you can move through. So you go from one passage to another, designated by these symbols. And once you move through a passage, your movement ends. You can still do other actions, but you can no longer move once you move through a passage. The next action is the unlock action. So when you're next to a door, you will look at the icon set and the number above it. That determines how many keys you must roll on the key dice to open that door. Some require just 1 key, others require up to 3. So everyone's going to start with 3 key dice. And what you're going to do is roll the dice, and you have to try to match the door. Now, if you only roll 1, so say we need 2 here, and you only roll 1 key, you can take another action and try to re-roll that second key. Now, if you unlock the door, you remove it from the game, and you can move your character freely in after unlocking a door. So once you unlock a door, you can use a free movement action to move to the next space. So each key die has half their symbols as keys and half as blank. So next is a search action. So the search action has to do with any icon set on the board. So here we have a cobweb, eyeball. Okay. So what you need to do is move into that space, and you're going to roll your 3 default clue dice, so the blue dice, and you're going to try to satisfy that icon set. So we have an eyeball, and if you match it, you can flip over the token. Now on the dice, we have 3 eyes, we have 2 cameras, and 1 cobweb. So the cobweb is going to be the hardest to roll. Now when you flip a token over, you're going to have 4 possibilities. The first one will be a nothing here. So if you receive a nothing here, you obviously found nothing. So you're going to take this token and put it back in the game box. You no longer will keep that token. Next we have an item. So if you reveal an item, you can take an item from the deck over here and place it in front of you. So here we have an optic camera. So once per turn, you can gain 1 free solve or prove action. So we'll talk about those in a second. So you're going to put this in front of you, and players are allowed to hold up to 3 items in their possession. All right, we also have a special item token, which is somewhere here in the board. But when you get a special item, you're going to draw a special item card. So this card can be used any turn to pull the ghost 1 space as a free pull action. We'll talk about pull actions in a moment. So when you get a special item, you're going to put it in front of you, and you're allowed to have as many special items in your hand as you want. It's not like items where you can only hold 3. Okay, next we have a clue. So if a clue is revealed, what you're going to do is come to the top and you're going to look at the first clue card. You're going to start from here to the left and go to the right. So you have a typewriter token with clue number 1. You're going to place on that clue. So you're going to replace it. And then you're going to reveal this card with the other one. Okay, so after you flipped over the clue card, you can now use a solve action to satisfy this clue. So this one requires a camera and a cobweb. So what you're going to do is, same as the search actions, you're going to roll 3 dice and try to match that symbol. So if you get a cobweb, you can put that there. And you can use whatever actions you have remaining to try to roll that camera. So if you get a camera, you can satisfy that clue. So if you satisfy this clue, you'll take the card, remove it from the game. You can remove this clue token. By the way, this clue token, you have to solve that clue in that space. All right, so if you're over here, you can't solve that clue. If you're over here, you have to be in that space to solve that. But once you solve that, you're going to remove that from the board, and you're going to come over here and reveal one of these evidence tokens. And this will explain a little bit later, but you can pick one at random. And if it matches the ghost card, you can put it on the ghost card. If it doesn't, just put it off to the side on the card somewhere. These will be relevant and factored later. And then also, you're going to get a summon die. So the summon die is going to allow you to do extra things and extra actions later. So the search action is the board, elements, and icon sets. The solve actions are the clue cards. Okay, so the next action is picking up, exchanging, or taking an item. So if you're on the space of another player, you can exchange items with that player. You can give the player the other item, or you can take an item from another player. But you have to be on the same space, and this counts as an action to do so. You can also pick up an item. So if someone drops an item, so say they have more than 3 cards and they have to drop an item, you can actually use these flashlight tokens. So we have flashlight number 1. So this is item number 1. You're going to place where you dropped it. So say I'm over here and I drop that item there. So say I drop my optic camera off to the side of the board. Knowing that space, you can come back later and pick that item up. So this is off screen a little bit. So later he can come along, pick that item up as an action, and add it to his inventory. All right, so before we get to the next few actions, let's talk about the clock really quick. So at the end of every round, so after everybody's taken their turn, you're going to advance the clock 15 minutes. At the end of 4 rounds, at the ghost hour, which is 12 on the clock, you're going to draw an environment card. You're going to do this first. So we have electromagnetic energy. All right, you're going to play out the conditions, and then you're going to flip over a room card. So the ghost is going to appear in room 15. So you're going to look for room 15, and that is going to be right here. investigators are going to try to get there. They have to open that door and roll these conditions here to prove the existence of the ghost. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So I just want to explain, when the ghost appears on the board, every ghost is going to have an ability. So his ability is he can close any adjacent door next to him. So if he appears on the space and this door has been open, he will close that door. So this way investigators will have to move there, open it, and his action's over, so she would have to go in there and try to satisfy these icon sets. Okay, ghosts also have these lingering effects. So every ghost has a different lingering effect. His is you have to solve all 4 of these first before you can move to these down here. So what you're going to do now is you're going to run to that ghost, and just like search and solve actions, you're going to roll 3 dice, and you're going to try to match these symbols on the ghost card. So you have to choose what one you're going for. So obviously you have to knock out these 4 first, but say I want to go for like this eyeball. If you roll the eye, you're going to take a blue marker and place it on that eyeball. If you have more actions left, you can continue to get to the rest of them. So these are called prove actions. So you have search on the board, solve for the clue, prove actions for the ghost. Now once you satisfy all of these, you win the game. When the ghost appears, you're going to put a red marker on his space, and that will just clarify that he's showed up in that space there. Now, there's only 1 room card per room in the game, so as you have more red markers on the board, so say he appears here and here, you can start to kind of eliminate, where he might go next. All right, so at the end of the round, so say the ghost appears at midnight and everyone takes their turn, 15 minutes go up on the clock, the ghost is going to disappear. So let's talk about the next few actions here. So we have a pull action. So say the investigators are on the space and the ghost appears in room 15, and say, or maybe they're even here, and they can't reach the ghost. I guess if they ran, they could reach them, but they can't really do anything unless they had some items to help. You could try to pull the ghost. Now earlier, when you solve clues, you start revealing more evidence tokens and you get more of these summon dice. So say you've solved 4 clues here. So say all these cards were solved, 4 clues. So you would have 4 summon dice, because for each clue solved, you get a summon die. You have 4 evidence tokens revealed, and you match them if they match. So to pull the ghost, you roll your summon dice, and all you need is 1 summon symbol. And if you get 1, you can pull the ghost 2 spaces. If you're pulling the ghost through the door, you only can pull him 1 space. But you can use another action to pull him again, so you can pull him 2 more spaces. Now if you fail, he will disappear. You can pull as many times as you want, but at this point, you can probably use your actions, move to the ghost, and roll prove actions to eliminate these icon sets. The next action is the summon action. So say the ghost is not on the board, you can try to summon him to the board. So you cannot do it on the ghost hour. And then there's something called ghost mode that he goes into later. You cannot summon during that mode. But for now, if you want to summon, you just roll your summon dice. So we have 4 summon dice because we solved 4 clues. We rolled that symbol. You're going to draw a room card. All right, so we have room 19. It's going to show up in room 19. Now, because you summoned him, you can pull him 2 spaces, but only 1 through a door. So say this door was open, you can actually pull him 1, 2 as a free pull because you summoned him. Also, the ghost does not use his ability when he's summoned. Lingering effects, though, however, are still active. So the child ghost lingering effect, if you remember, you have to satisfy all 4 of these first before you move on to these. All right, but he doesn't close doors because you summoned him. Now, any player can run to these spaces and make prove actions against that ghost. All right, now if you do not roll any summon symbols, you're going to draw that room card, but don't look at it. You're going to put it at the bottom of the discarded cards, and he doesn't appear on the board. So you wasted a room card. Now you could try again and risk it. And if you do get a symbol, he appears, you can move him 2 spaces. Just remember to add a red marker to every room that he appears, designated by a room card. So if he appeared in room 19, add that marker there. So remember, you cannot summon it during the ghost hour, or something called ghost mode. You have to at least roll 1 summon symbol. You have to draw a room card, but you don't look at it if you fail. You place the red marker. The ghost does not use his ability, but the lingering effect is still active. All right, you can pull the ghost 2 spaces when he appears, or 1 through a door. And it lasts for 1 round, starting with the summoned player. So if player number 2 summoned him, it lasts for a full round to the beginning of that player's turn next round. Now, if it does reach the ghost hour that next round, so say you're right here and it goes here, the ghost hour supersedes that summon. All right, so let's talk about ghost mode. So ghost mode appears, or let's just put the investigators here. So ghost mode activates when 2 of the following things happen. So if all 7 cards were revealed on the clues, so even if you haven't solved them, the ghost will go into that ghost mode. Or if you satisfy all the evidence tokens, and if you find all these, he will also be activated and go into ghost mode. So those 2 things, if every clue card has been revealed, or if you found all the evidence token that matches the card. So what happens is the ghost is going to appear in a room every 15 minutes. So you're going to draw a card. He's going to appear in room 8. The round's going to go through. All right. He's going to use his ability. Next round, he's going to appear again, and he's going to go through these room cards quite fast. So you got to try to get to him, solve these icon sets with proof actions before those room cards run out. Now, you can no longer do summon actions once he's in ghost mode, and he still uses ability at each 15 minutes. Now, environment card is only drawn at midnight still, though. So another thing, you can seance the ghost. So once you satisfy all 4 of these symbols, so the advantage is you can seance the ghost. So at the beginning of the first player's turn, you can summon the ghost to the board as a free action. So now during this phase, during a seance, turn order is ignored. So if he's the last player in line, he can go first this time. And you can seance him to the board if you're the first player. All right, the ghost does not use his ability. This doesn't count as an action. You don't have to roll summon dice, but you only can do this once per game. Now, because you seance him, you can have all your players here, seance them to the board, and knock out these prove actions really quick. You must declare you're using this seance, though, before the next room card is drawn. All right, I want to talk about aiding really quick. So if you're on the same space as another player, as the ghost as well, you get a bonus clue die to your roll. So no matter how many players are on the space, you only get 1 maximum additional clue die. So if 3 players are on the space, they're aiding each other, you're allowed an additional die to roll towards these prove actions. So this is only for prove actions on the same space as the ghost. And no matter how many players are on that space, you're only allowed 1 additional die. All right, lastly, I want to talk about the red icon sets on the board. So the first one is the padlock. So the padlock, when you open a door, so say you roll your keys, you get 2 keys, you move through the door, it relocks. So you never remove these from the board. You just got to re-roll when you go back. We have the fire icons, which is determined by a specific environment card, so you can ignore those for now until that card is drawn. We have these exclamation points. This, you cannot save dice. So if you see an exclamation point, you cannot save any dice. So if you roll like an eyeball on a camera, you can't save that eyeball. You have to re-roll and try to get that right away on the first roll. All right, and lastly, we have timers. So you can see a couple timers in areas. We have 1 here in the storage room, and we have a few on the ghost card as well. So a timer, when you're rolling for an icon set, and if you miss that roll, you receive a timer token. And this is for the group. So if another player comes along and rolls and misses, you get another timer token. If you get 3 timer tokens, the clock moves up 15 minutes. So now there are items that allow you to do re-rolls that doesn't count towards the timer if you're re-rolling dice based on items. But for every time you miss, you gain a timer token. Now, whichever player got that third timer token, they will lose their turn. So if it's the last person in the turn order, and they get that third timer token, the clock goes up 15 minutes. So say it goes here. It goes up 15 minutes, and at the end of their turn, it goes up 15 minutes again. So you got to be careful. So I just wanted to comment on a timer in a certain situation. So if it's the last player's turn, and he gets that third timer, he's going to end his turn and move the clock up. Now you're going to draw a room card, and you're going to see where the ghost appears. You're going to put a red marker. So we have room 9. So if you place him in room 9 here, all right, but immediately it's the end of that player's turn. The clock is going to go up 15 more minutes. And if you're in ghost mode, you're going to draw another room card. He's going to appear in room 12, and that's his new position. So you got to be careful when you are in active ghost mode. Or say he gets the third timer, you move the clock to midnight, the ghost appears, and if you're not in ghost mode, it's going to move up 15 more minutes at the end of his turn, and the ghost won't appear, like if we're not in ghost mode. So you kind of lose that ability to catch him in that room. So the last thing I want to talk about is the magnifying glass. So you're going to notice that we have one magnifying glass symbol in this room. So you come in the room, and as an action, you can pick up this glass. So to use a magnifying glass, all you do is specify on here. Now you can either rotate it or place a red marker on the 3. For every use, it lasts for the whole icon set. So say you're going for this camera cobweb, and you get an additional die. So you have 3 default and then +1 for the magnifying glass. You can roll your dice, and if you get, say, a cobweb but don't get the camera, you can re-roll on your second action. However, it's still the same use of that magnifying glass because it's the same icon set. Now, if you switch to another icon set or do another action and you come back to this, then you would have to use your second use of it to continue that. So if you're still on the same icon set, this still counts as the first use of the items. Now I can get the camera cobweb, I can reveal the search token, and next time I use the glass now for a different icon set, it would count as my second use. So you're allowed 3 uses, and then you can put that back. So that's it for the gameplay for Skeptics. Feel free to make any comments or have any questions, put them in the comment section below.